What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I want to dive into a little bit about why I think the Burning Crusade is going to be pretty different this time around compared to what we experienced in TBC Classic the last time, right? There's been quite a few changes that have been implemented onto these anniversary servers, things that have been banned, things that have just been changed, things that have been added to the game, right? So we're going to dive into this and why I think it's going to change a little bit about TBC this time around. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so obviously the first thing that we want to talk about is the fact that dual talent specialization is in the game, right? So for anyone who doesn't know, dual spec has been added to anniversaries since day one. It's been in the game, meaning you can have two active specializations. Like if you're a warrior and you're leveling as arms, but you want to be able to tank dungeons as prot, you set your second spec to prot, and now you can switch to prot with one button. You know, you don't have to go back to any major city. You don't have to pay to respec. And then when you want to go back to arms or fury, you hit that one button. It goes back to that fury or arms spec, and all of your action bars and everything stay, you know, perfect for that spec. You don't have to reset everything up. It's actually a really nice quality of life addition. You know, a little bit controversial. A lot of people think that it kind of fundamentally changes the game in a bad way. I don't see this at all. I think that really all it does is help with the need of healers and tanks for dungeons, and allows you to have a PvP spec. So for TBC, I think this is going to be pretty big. I think it's going to make a big difference, right? Because here you got to think about in TBC what we get. So TBC launches, we go through the Dark Portal, we start leveling up, we do all the dungeons, all of that stuff. Now you're at a point where you're farming your reputations with all of these different factions for the dungeons up to Revered to unlock the heroic key and be able to do heroic versions of all those dungeons, which is where a lot of your pre-bis is going to come from for raids, right? So now there's always this issue in pretty much every version of WoW, especially Classic, where you're just waiting on tanks and healers. Now, having dual talent specs in the game, I think this is going to help that a lot, right? I think it's going to make it so that the dungeon grind, the heroic grind, which is arguably a massive part of the first and second phase of the Burning Crusade, is going to be so much better, because now those hybrid specs that you have are going to be able to be like, you know what? I'll tank, I'll heal, I'll do this. You know, if someone leaves halfway through a run, any hybrids in the group are going to say, you know what? I'm throwing on my prot set. I'm switching specs right now. Let's just finish this. Like, I think it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be really good for the PvE scene, for the heroic farming scene, for the dungeon grinding scene, even for raids, right? If someone has to leave the raid and you have someone in your raid, a ret pally, who's like, yeah, I do have a healer off spec with pretty decent gear. I can replace that healer. Let's keep moving. Let's just finish this Kara. Like, that's going to be a thing, and I think it's going to make the experience a whole lot better for everybody, right? The next thing is, in the TBC, we get access to other stuff like Arena, right? PvP is a way bigger aspect of the game than it was in vanilla for TBC. There's actually an end game for PvP enjoyers. People who don't even want to raid can still play an end game piece of content in the Burning Crusade with Arena. So we get that, we get Eye of the Storm Battleground, so people are going to be doing a lot more PvP this time around in the Burning Crusade. And anyone who played the Burning Crusade Classic and, you know, you did PvP, you would remember that it was kind of a pain in the ass, because you would do your raids or whatever, then you'd have to go and respec to your PvP spec for Arena or Eye of the Storm, AB, whatever it is that you wanted to do. And it really was kind of a pain, because you had to go respec, then you had to set up your bars again. It was like really kind of annoying. Now that's not going to be a thing anymore. People are going to be able to be done with their raids, or even in between raids on a Wednesday night and their next raid is on Thursday. Now they're going to be able to spec, you know, use their second spec and jump right into PvP, jump right into Arena. Even some things like going out into the world and doing the PvP events, the towers, and stuff like that in Hellfire, in Terrakar Forest, Nagrand, the Halal event. I think Nagrand, the Halal event, like all that stuff might actually be a lot more fun now that we have dual talents in the game, right? I think it's going to affect it pretty hard. I think it's going to make a big difference, and I think it's going to make a big difference in a good way. We never got to experience TBC like this before, right? The problem is that people think that dual spec being in the game is going to fundamentally change the Burning Crusade. Like, It's not. It's not going to change anything to do with gameplay. All it is really a quality of life thing. People could swap on the fly as long as they can't jump into an arena match and switch specs inside the arena match to match up to whatever they're fighting, like, which I don't think will be a thing, so don't even worry about that. It doesn't fundamentally change anything about the game. It does make some classes more valuable, right? Like, all of the hybrids are more valuable because now they can fill multiple roles in case you need them to, right? Like healer heavy fights, you have your DPS that can now switch to heals, or your tank that can now switch to heals when you only need one tank, or your tank that could switch to DPS when you only need one tank. So I think it'll make the raids feel a little bit better. You're just going to have more flexibility is all. But fundamentally, it's not changing the meta. It's not changing what classes are good and what classes aren't, or this or that. Like, it is literally just quality of life. Like, it's going to change that. It's going to make it better for people. And I think that's a really good thing. But let's move on from dual talents, right? The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is the fact that in the Anniversary, on the PvP realm, like, they have implemented a 50-50 faction balancing enforcement policy. Meaning, so anyone who doesn't know and isn't currently playing Anniversary, or maybe just isn't up to date on this stuff, Blizzard has implemented a faction balance system. They did it in Season of Discovery. They did it in Anniversary. It's been proven to work really, really well. If you look at Night Slayer, the big PvP realm on Anniversary in the US, it works. It's almost a 50-50 faction split down the middle. So the way that this system works is when one faction is becoming like heavy-sided, there's more, like way more Horde than Alliance, it locks the creation of new Horde characters on that realm, and you can only create Alliance characters. Yes, kind of a pain for people trying to get their friends into the game if it's locked, but it does unlock and relock multiple times throughout the week, depending on, you know, the population of people on the game, right? So I think it's a really good thing. For me personally, I know other people got to experience TBC with a decent faction balance, aka people who were on Grobulus the first time around. I wasn't part of that crew. I was on Benediction and Faralina. So my Horde was on Faralina. My Alliance was over on Benediction. Our servers were pretty much 99% one way, right? Benediction was Alliance. Faralina was Horde. And to do the PvP events out in the world, to flip the towers in Hellfire, to flip the, do all that stuff, we had, basically there was like someone who had like one Horde character on the realm on another account, and they would flip the towers so that all the Alliance can go flip it and get their, their quest done and get that honor. So this is going to be the first time I experience going into TBC on a 50-50 PvP server. I'm not really sure how this is going to change things much. So, the world PvP scene in TBC, for the most part, is usually dead because of flying mounts. But it could make for some interesting interactions, right? Maybe the Nagrand event will be a lot of fun this time around. It was kind of non-existent for me in TBC Classic. Maybe we will actually fight over the towers in Hellfire. It could be pretty cool. I'm not sure, but I'm going to be optimistic about it. I think it's actually, it's possible that this turns into a really cool way to keep that classic vibe going. TBC, in my opinion, is just an extension of vanilla in its purest form. Like, it really still feels classic and vanilla. It's just some new content and a little bit better tuning on a lot of the classes, right? So that's something that's different. The next thing is we have instant mail, not a big one. But, mail between your characters on your account is instant, so that can make, gold farming, stuff like that, profession management, inventory management, all that kind of stuff, a lot better for people in the Burning Crusade, so that's a nice welcome change. Then we have the two things that I want to talk about here that have been banned on Anniversary. And one of them, I think, is going to make a major impact on the Burning Crusade going forward. And I know this is going to be a really controversial part of this video, but I want you guys to be open-minded and really kind of try and understand where I'm coming from with this. Without the rage, take the rage glasses off. Stop seeing red when I say this, because I think that if you really, really think about it, you're going to understand why I think it's a bad thing. And I want to go here and say, I know that people are going to be on both sides of the fence with this. But first one I want to talk about is they banned gold swapping between servers in Anniversary a couple of weeks ago, meaning, between game modes, sorry. And I guess servers too. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, you can no longer, like, there was people in trade chat advertising like, hey, I'm trading gold on Season of Discovery for your gold on Night Slayer, or I'm trading you Night Slayer Alliance gold for your gold on Cataclysm or Season of Discovery or Hardcore, whatever it is. This is no longer allowed. It is against TOS. So if you didn't know that, don't do it because you could get banned. People were doing this for a really long time. Since then, it has now been banned. It is a bannable offense. And from what I've seen and what I understand, people have been getting banned left and right on Anniversary for different reasons. So it seems like Blizzard really picked up the moderation in the past like couple of months. So I'd be very careful at what you're doing and try and just follow TOS, right? Play the game the right way. But either way, so no gold swapping between game modes or servers or whatever. But that I don't think is going to be a big difference for the Burning Crusade going forward. But this next one is really going to be big. And I know most of you are happy about this, but it's the banning of GDKPs. Now, if you look back at the performance of TBC, especially later on in the expansion, Black Temple, Hyjal, Sunwell, I have a fear for TBC this time around that the best part of TBC, in my opinion, was the raiding scene. I think the raiding scene in the Burning Crusade is fantastic. It's amazing. Like, I love Black Temple. I even love SSC. Tempest Keep, Karazhan's amazing. Like, all this stuff is really fun. Really accessible raids that you could jump in. Little bit of a challenge later on, but again, very similar to like vanilla style. Not very complicated, not very hard. Accessible to most of the player base, I guess I would say. But the banning of GDKPs, I think, is going to do a little bit of harm here, right? Now, the issue is that GDKPs were a large reason as to why people still were raiding so far into the Burning Crusade. It was a lot of people raiding on alts. It was some people's way of farming gold. And it was also a way to get rid of gatekeeping. And hear me out on this. The Burning Crusade allowed someone with gold, but maybe they weren't the best player in the world. Maybe they weren't, a Giga Chad in a great guild and had the full BIS that they needed to get into that Black Temple run. If this person loved doing their professions, loved skinning out in the Grand for hours, they sat up at the Throne of Elementals and farmed, motes of fire and all that stuff. If they were a gold farmer, it gave them a chance to still experience the content and do it, because GDKP leaders don't really care how you perform. Yeah, you bring some, carries, and then you bring buyers. So these people, yeah, maybe they spent their whole career farming gold. That's all they like to do. They're not a great player. They're not skilled mechanically, but they want to see the content and get the gear. That was their way to do it. It got rid of that gatekeeping, whether people like it or not. Yes, it promotes RMT. Yes, all that bad stuff. But here's the deal. If you've been on Anniversary any time in the last 5 months, you notice that the entire chat, everything is sold. Every single service. You can buy a summon to every corner of the world for insane prices. You can buy your Hand of Justice from a rogue selling it in BRD. You can buy every single piece of gear from someone selling it to you in a dungeon run. You can buy a boost from level 8 on Horde side all the way to level 60, and from level 15 on Alliance all the way up to level 60. Everything is sold. The entire trade chat is just selling boosts and selling services. So at this point, I would say there's really no point in not having GDKPs, because it gives people a way to play the game, right? You're just taking it away. It doesn't take away from the guild aspect of the game, because clearly all of these services and all of the things being sold, all the RMT is still there. Anniversary has been a version of Classic that went through a period where it had the worst economy of any version of Classic ever launched, ever created. It had the worst economy ever, and GDKPs have been banned since day one. So it's not a GDKP problem. It's a bot and a gold seller and a gold buyer problem. So if that is still in the game, you might as well put GDKPs back in the game and let people experience the game the way they want to have fun. Because the sad truth is, if GDKPs being in the game is the reason you didn't get to experience a raid, I'm sorry, my friend, but you probably weren't going to experience it anyway, right? Like, that's just the sad truth. GDKPs have I didn't even know what GDKPs were for a long time, and it didn't affect my ability to play the game. I still joined guilds, I raided, I had no idea what a GDKP was. And when I found out, I thought it was pretty cool. I understand why people are on both sides to this, but it's not a GDKP problem. It's an RMT problem that's still going on even without GDKPs in the game. I know Blizzard's trying to get a handle on it, but it really is disgusting. If you look on Anniversary, the entire thing is everything is being sold. You can buy every piece of your pre-bis gear from someone selling the run. You can buy every single boost in every single dungeon the entire way to level 60. You can buy a summon to every single corner of the world. It's all still in the game. The only part of it that was fixed was they took out the part of it that people actually played and had fun with in the raids. They made friends. It was basically like guilds. Some guilds ran GDKPs for fun to farm gold for consumables for raid. You know, I know I'm going to start a lot of controversy with this video, and I don't really want to do that, but I want you guys to see both sides. This is the one that I'm the most worried about for TBC going forward, and I think this is going to affect TBC in a negative way. I already have talked to a lot of people who are saying, you know what, without GDKPs in the game this time, I think I'm good with one character. You know, do my raids and then log off. That is horrible to me, because the best part of TBC was being able to raid on multiple characters, have fun. You could raid even after you were full bis. If you were full bis in Black Temple and Hyjal, you still wanted to raid if you were someone who jumped into GDKPs and that was your way of farming gold, right? GDKPs got rid of that gatekeeping, like I said. It kept, you know, Cheesebags told me about this the other night, and I'm like, man, he's so right. Like, that's 100% true. People complain about gatekeeping. That was the way to get rid of gatekeeping. It allowed, you know, shit players who just wanted to farm gold for their entire existence in World of Warcraft. It gave them a way to experience the content as well. You know, they were able to jump in. Yeah, they were a whale, right? They farmed 100k gold. You know what? Any GDKP leader is going to be like, take this guy. We don't care if he even has a keyboard. That's great. He gets to experience the raid and be bad at the game, and it doesn't even matter. No one cares because he's buying all this gear. He's basically paying everyone for a carry. This stuff is just part of the game. And to be completely honest, if GDKPs were going to stay banned, I would be completely on board with it in one scenario. And let me give you guys this scenario in which it makes sense. You know I'm against TBC fresh servers, but I wouldn't be against TBC fresh servers under one condition, or fresh servers in general. And that is, if the fresh server had GDKP banned, we had the gold swapping banned right off the rip, and every single service that you can buy is also banned. You can no longer buy Warlock summons around the world. You can no longer buy your Hodge from a rogue selling it to you that's soloing Angerforge for 15 minutes. You can no longer pay for any service in World of Warcraft. But here's the thing, if you really think about it, that goes against the game, right? This is supposed to be a game where you can create your own business selling potions. You can create your own business selling run-throughs of something. It's an RPG. Like, this was the thing. This was the roots of the game are rooted in this. But if you did a fresh server with no GDKPs, no gold swapping between game modes, all of the services banned, your entire chat box isn't loaded up with warlocks selling summons to every corner of the world, rogues selling Hodge, people selling Dire Maul tribute runs, people selling the Dire Maul buffs. You know, the thing is, I think a lot of the people that hate on GDKPs are the same people who use all of those systems 24/7. And you don't realize it's kind of the exact same thing. And arguably, those things cause more damage to the fucking game than GDKPs. Straight up. That is what it is. And I don't care if you don't believe me, it's the truth. Because how the hell did Anniversary Fresh have the worst economy in the history of Classic ever recorded? The worst economy. 600 gold flasks. And GDKPs were banned from day one. And the reason why the economy was so bad is because bots run rampant on these servers, dude. There's bots everywhere. There's bots everywhere, and GDKPs were the combatant for that. It gave normal players a chance to make a good amount of gold that made sense. Think about it like this, guys. If you're a warlock trying to make a business selling summons throughout the world, you can't. Because you'll get reported by a bot mafia. Your account will get banned automatically because it is automated, and it's ridiculous. Like, you can't do these things. They're completely controlled by bots. Bots are the ones selling the dungeon boost. Bots are the ones doing the Mara runs. Yeah, there's some real people doing it, but if you piss off these bots, they report you, they mass report you on hundreds of characters and get you banned. So how did GDKPs solve a damn thing? I don't think it did anything for the community. I don't think banning GDKPs helped the community. I don't think it helped guilds in any way at all. All I think it did was take away a fun way that people could experience the game. And for a version of the game like TBC, where the leveling is a very small part of it, and most of it is raiding and PvP, I think taking that experience away from people is going to be a bad thing, and I think it's going to have the numbers dwindle a lot faster than they normally would. But either way, I understand the ban. I understand why we tried it, but it only really makes sense if all of that stuff is banned, is my point. GDKPs being banned is a good thing if all of the other bullshit that encourages RMT is also banned. If you take out GDKPs but leave everything else, guess what? That guy's still going to go buy 1,000 gold and go pay for his Hodge. How is that any different than a GDKP? At least a GDKP people got together and raided and cleared the content and then split the pot at the end. Either way, it's dirty money, no matter how you look at it, right? Like it's the same thing. But this isn't a GDKP video. It's a video about why TBC is going to be different this time around. These are some pretty big reasons why, I think. I mean, I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys disagree with me, but I think these are some pretty big reasons, right? Dual talent's going to change it quite a bit. No GDKPs is going to be really a big one, in my opinion, which I don't think it's going to be good unless they did a fresh server, which I'm kind of against, but they banned all of that stuff. Every single thing that encourages RMT, but, that's a slippery slope because now you're getting to a point where you're like kind of banning parts of the game that have always been fun for people. Some people play this game to play the economy, to make gold. That's their favorite part of World of Warcraft, and I don't think we should take that away from them, to be honest. So it's a weird thing. I don't really know how all this stuff fits. I don't. But I do know TBC is going to be a good time, right? It's the best expansion. It's my favorite. I think it's going to be a good time regardless. But I do think these are some things that we need to start talking about now. So let me know down in the comments below how you guys feel about this stuff. I'm really curious. I know I'm going to get hella comments about the GDKP thing. And listen, I'm on both sides of the fence. I understand both sides. I'm just saying the harsh truth here. I'm saying what other people don't want to say. And it's the truth. This is what's going on. I'm actively playing on Night Slayer, and it is the entire game is just people selling things. You can't type in looking for group channel, hey, I need to find a group for Dead Mines. Anyone doing Dead Mines? You will get, it's just spam of every single dungeon boost, every single person selling a piece of gear. It's all spam. Every single summon to every corner. You don't have to walk anywhere. If you have gold in Anniversary, you literally could play the whole game from the inside of Ogremar or Stormwind without walking anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere. You can get a summon to every corner of the world, anywhere you want to go, which is fine. I'm still enjoying it, but it's very, very different, and I actually feel like the server is worse since they banned GDKPs. I think you lose a lot of the players that enjoy that experience, that enjoy pumping really good raids with good people, carrying people, and making gold in that way. But either way, I don't think that that's going to change. It seems like Blizzard's taking a pretty big stance on this, which I get. But it's kind of like to me, it's a half-baked stance, and it really doesn't fix much with everything else still being left in the game. But anyway, yeah, I'm turning into a rant. Like the video, really does help me out. Comment down below how you guys feel about this. I want to know every single one of your thoughts. Even if you disagree with me, let me know down in the comments. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/hammerdance. We stream Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Get over there right now. Link in the description below. But anyways, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Subscribe to this channel. Thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one.